Hello, I'm Josh, and I'm going to be making some Foccacia. This is being recorded live on twitch.tv/JoshyLonglegs, where I do all kinds of stuff: baking, gaming, chatting, struggle bussing. So today, it's the Garden Foccacia from the Honeywell Biscuit Company. Now, it's a really nice box. It comes with a lot of lovely little cards. It has a little thing about recycling all of the stuff that comes with it. And then it tells you how to make your garden focaccia if you want to. You see, nothing ever goes as smoothly as it should, does it? There we go. That should work now. Is that any better? Yeah, there we go. So, this is the recipe. Doesn't seem to want to be in focus. There we go. So, I'll just focus. It's not doing it. Oh well. There's the recipe anyway. And in the little kit, which is wonderfully packaged, you can see, get all sorts of lovely little things. Got some organic bread flour, wheat. Some organic bread flour, wheat. Packet of sunflower seeds. Packet of pumpkin seeds. Some dried chives. Sea salt flakes. Bay leaves. Fine salt. Damn, that's some fine salt. And most importantly, some easy bake yeast. Now I have my own yeast, but I'll be using this yeast for the sake of the recipe. Pop the box to one side, and let's look at our method. Well, the first thing that we have to do is tip the flour into a large mixing bowl. It's that easy. And would you believe it? I have a large mixing bowl right here. It's not the most aesthetically pleasing, but it does have a lid that comes with it, which is incredibly useful. So, it just says tip it, doesn't mention sieving it. 350 grams of strong white bread flour. And just for the sake of it, I'm going to measure out the flour we've got here. The first bag is 168 grams. And the second bag. My cats are going crazy. The second bag. Takes us up to just shy of 350. We're actually at 342. So that's fine. So, what next? Mix yeast into one side of the flour and fine salt into the other side. Do you mind? Funny little cats. Now, it only recommends 2 teaspoons of yeast, which I'm guessing 7 grams is going to be the amount of. On this side goes the yeast. And on the other side, the cat's just herring around. And on the other side goes the cell. See, the lovely thing about this is that everything has been pre-weighed or comes in a pre-packet. So all you have to do is the mixing and the hand stuff. Mixing and hand stuff is it describes a lot of problems, doesn't it? I'm going to mix in the yeast with the flour on this side, mix the salt with the flour on this side. And now I need to mix everything together. I'm just using a fork because it's slightly easier for me to get a nice momentum on it. Make a well in the middle of the flour and add 2 tablespoons of oil and 250 ml of lukewarm water. Now, lukewarm describes a very specific warmth of water. Luke coming from the old word meaning blood. They're looking for blood temperature water. Which is quite difficult to accomplish, actually. Quite difficult to easily accomplish anyway. However, I can do a bit of water alchemy. Adding a little bit of off the boil water so basically it was 50 ml of off the boil water. It's been off the boil for a little bit, maybe 7 or 8 minutes. And then it says 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I've got extra virgin olive oil from Sainsbury's. Tablespoon. TBSP, tablespoon. 1. 2. And then gonna just pour it in. I didn't make my well big enough there and it's all sort of spilled out, but that's okay. I'm now going to just start bringing in bits of the floury, salty, yeasty mix. Now, because that's easy active yeast, you don't have to worry about having the yeast in for a first proof on its own in a jug. You have to do the thing where you add it to like a milky, sugary water and then wait for it all to start frothing up. And just go straight in. And the thing about focaccia is it's not a sweet bread. It's not like your sort of typical sandwich bread or anything. It's very much an eating bread as opposed to a sandwichy bread, I guess. And this doesn't seem to be picking up much of the water. And that is a great shame. It means I'm going to have to grab a little bit more water. Because focaccia dough is supposed to be incredibly sticky, although it does feel quite sticky there. So I'm going to make my lukewarm water again. Grab a little bit more of it. Just in case I need it, if I need it. I'm going to say goodbye to my fork. Bye, bye, bye. And I'm going to start using my hands. Now, I'm actually going to go off piste with the instructions, because the instructions say to flour the work surface. But everything I know about focaccia says to oil the surface. And if you oil the work surface, then you end up with a really supple dough that's quite easy to manipulate and knead. However, I do realise I have just left everything on there, so I'm going to just scooch these over to the side and my instructions as well. Going to gingerly take off the lid of the oil and just pour a little bit of oil on my work surface. And now this is a sticky dough. I didn't need that extra water at all. Just going to dollop the bread on there, and I'm kind of kneading it until it becomes nice and smooth and elastic. Now, focaccia is famously quite a tricky dough to knead. You cannot knead it like you would in normal bread. You have to really. It's so wet. Because it is so wet, you have to really give it a weird knead. But because it is so wet, the kneading doesn't take quite so long. If there's more on your bench, you just scoop it in with your hands. And you're just trying to develop that gluten. Get it all to be a nice singular consistency, so it all starts to adhere to itself instead of adhering to you. Which is quite difficult to do, truth told. You can see here I'm just running my fingers literally along the surface of the bench. Worktop. And getting it to come together in a weird little way. And all that you're doing is breaking down the sort of flour, I guess, and using that to make the gluten proteins bigger, stronger, and better. I'm now sort of wishing that I'd followed the instructions, because this is a very sticky dough. I know that if I'd put flour down, it wouldn't have helped. It wouldn't have helped one bit. So I have to embrace the messiness, embrace the chaos. You see how the gluten, it's all sort of starting to become quite stringy. It's all sort of starting to come together. I'm now going to take this opportunity to bring everything from around the edges. I think even the mere suggestion of adding extra water is what's done it there, which is funny. Oh no. The instructions. Put those out of the way for a minute. This is a real oopy blooper. I mean, look at it. So sticky. It has no business being so sticky. It's a little bit gross. But it's definitely like, someone's into this, right? I feel like someone's into this. But I couldn't say who. It's not my place to say. And now it's all really is coming together. I'm going to start the putting it back in a bowl process. Which is actually going to be quite difficult. So I'm going to grab a knife. This one. And use the knife to scrape all the dough off of my hands. Which is really exciting to look at when it's off camera. It's just a knife running over a hand with some dough on it. It's not that exciting, I promise. Unless you're like super into that kind of thing, in which case, go nuts. I'll show you, I'll do one hand off, and then I'll show you the other hand, if I can. Which I'm not sure I can. Oh well. There we go. So with this, I'm just using the back of the knife. Sort of bringing it along, scraping up. And this is why I always make sure my bench is as clean as I can get it when I'm making bread. Because you don't want to gather up like extra bacterial or fungal cultures and they're going to sit in your proving space. Nudge the rings across and just use the blunt side of a knife. I mean, it's a blunt knife anyway. I'm going to use the blunt side of the knife to just liberate my palms from this glutinous mess. And for the harder to get off bits, you can use sort of both sides of it if you need to use the sharp bit to dig into the goopy goop that it is. And, you know, people, this is the one thing that people do know about focaccia, is that it's wet. It's a really wet dough. By design. I wish I'd done some research into the history of focaccia, but I haven't. I've just been wanting to make it for a really long time. I imagine it's got something to do with the type of wheat that they grow in Italy. So a lot of Italian breads are kind of flattish, I guess. Like ciabatta isn't hugely risen. Just rinsing the remnants of dough off my hands, which is really compelling. Drying my hands. Okay. So I'm now going to get this, which which is a silicon spatula. And because it's silicon, it'll actually do a really good job of working as an adjustable bench scraper, which is exactly what I want for it to do for me. Come on. Nice bird sound in the music. Scraping at the edges, popping stuff back in the bowl. Okay. That's still a pretty, like, if you compare that to what we had before, that is a relatively smooth mass of dough. I'm just using the edge of the spatula to bring everything together. It's often much less messy to keep stuff into bowls. I wish I had a stand mixer. I wish my camera would stay focused. But you see, when you prod it, I just prod it with a wet finger. When you prod it, it comes back quite quickly. See if that. So you prod it. It comes back almost immediately. That is the sign that you're pretty much there with the kneading portion of your adventure with this dough. It's so cohesive now. But I guarantee the second I introduce my hands to it, it'll start clinging to the hands. And that's because my hands have got a lot of surface area, because of the fingerprints and the little crinkle crunkles in my hand. I've got particularly grippy hands. I was designed to be a water baby. I.e. designed to be in water, opposed to like be a centaur that's part horse, part hippo. Hippos which they believe to be part horse. Okay, so I'm fairly pleased with that, and I'm kind of inclined to leave it alone. Let's bring our instructions, let's bring our method back this way. Cool. Put your dough in a clean bowl and cover with cling film and leave to proof for about an hour or until it's doubled in size. I actually have a smaller bowl that I'm going to use. We're in a slightly smaller bowl that I'm going to preemptively. Bit of dough in there, I'll just add. I'm going to put some oil around. This will just stop the dough from sticking to the bowl. And I'm going to use my silicone spatula to pop that in. There we go. And I'm going to use that spatula to just manipulate the dough. Always sneeze into your shoulders. That's one for the sneeze pervert. And I'm going to use the spatula to bring a bit of oil over the top. And now suddenly, this really sticky dough has become incredibly soft and easy to manipulate. And it's just because that oil is stopping the sort of proteins in your hands, I guess, from binding with the proteins of the flour. And this is such a soft and easy and gentle dough. It's like a little baby. I'm just trying to make it look like a little burrata. You know, the little sort of mozzarella balls, like this. Then we put it back in. We give it a jiggle jiggle. We give it a little pat. Good little bread. I'm going to put on my airtight lid. rewash my hands because they're all oily. I swear, because the hot water's hot. Okay. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this and I'm going to pop it in a warm place. I tend to put it in the airing cupboard. And then I will come back to those watching this on YouTube with with the next stage in the focaccia. Those of you on Twitch, don't go anywhere because I'm going to be making biscotti. And if you want to see that, then make sure you're subscribed. Follow me on the things. There. They're down there. So don't go anywhere. Welcome back, YouTube. For you, it's been mere minutes, but for me, it's been a tantalising hour in which I made biscotti. Half of biscotti. And, a whole lot of other things. Had some friends come in. And more importantly, the focaccia, you can see the line there, that's doubled in size. That is a big air bubble. Look at that. Isn't that cute? So, once it's done that, I need to oil a rectangle tin, approximately 20 by 25 centimeters. Well, I don't quite have that, but I have something similar. So here is a rectangle tin. There is some oil. And I'm just going to lube it up a bit. Get it nicely lubricated. Get oil every bloody where. Ignore the timer. That's for biscotti. That's lubed up. Gonna knock that air bubble out. You see how wet and gushy it is? And oil my other hand as well. So both hands are oily. Both hands are well lubricated. Mothers hide your daughters. And I'm just going to gently as I can, put that in there. And get rid of the bowl. Giving myself more washing up to do. And now I'm going to gently stretch it out to fill the tin. Because I don't want to lose all those air bubbles gotten from the proving machine. As you can see, a lot of them are still forming. That ferment is still happening in there. Just using the tips of my fingers to push it all down. Now, the recipe says make a garden scene. Now, I don't know what they think garden's supposed to look like. Apparently they came from Brazil. Now playing Brazil by Mamma Misha Juicy Helm. All music, by the way, is courtesy of Pretzel Rocks and should all be royalty free if I click the right buttons, which I hope I have. Otherwise, what's the point of anything? So we've got these from before. We've got some sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, dried chives, sea salt flakes, and bay leaves. I'm going to leave the sea salt flakes for later. But I'm thinking if we make the dried chives, I kind of just want to salt bay it. Like, I could try and make a pretty garden scene. Go into the corner, you naughty bit of bread. bay leaves as well. A garden scene. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have a bay leaf in there. And you have to really press them in, if I remember correctly. Gently press, it says. And I'm going to put my other bay leaf in there. And now it also says you can use peppers, tomatoes, courgette if you have it. Whatever you like. Help make this a little bit prettier. Cherry tomatoes, fresh chives, fresh parsley, red or yellow peppers, and radishes. And radishes, which is fun. I am going to get out a teeny tiny chopping board. Little chopping board. And a little knife. See, this is a teeny tiny pepper as well. Tiny baby pepper. I'm going to take this pepper. And I'm going to think for a second. Nice, it's sort of slightly on a bevel, I guess. And I feel like that will sort of look a bit like a tulip. Feels like a flower, doesn't it? That looks like a flower. Oh yeah. I'm proud of myself. And then I'm going to use the pumpkin seeds. You ready for this? Make a stem. Push that in, make sure that's pushed in properly. Each like individual strand is separated out. Yeah. In fact, the decorative focaccia was the like the thing that won or lost the Great British Bake Off this year. So you know it's difficult to do apparently. Now over here, I'm thinking. If I take these little end bits of pepper, they can make like nice little petals. It's a horrible waste of pepper, but I will just eat it with hummus after this. Maybe if I take some of the red nubs as well. My concern is adding too much water to it. Then doing something yes. Like that. And with some sunflower seeds around it. That's all of them in my hands. I'll just scatter those around it. Feels like art. That's something right there as well. And then this is where I think I'm being really clever. I'll chop off all of this green pepper. And I come in little slices. Get away with the membrane. Get away with you. Just like... Bring it in as a stem. Feels like a stem. And maybe we can just have like some stuff happening up here with these other bits of pepper. You know what? Let's... You see, theirs is really almost too creative. I do actually like what they've done in that top corner. So I'm going to add that in underneath. Actually, that needs to be yellow. Add that in underneath and behind. Add that in underneath and behind. And add... Come on. Add that in underneath and behind. And then I need a little bit of red. Put it there as well. Bring it all in together. Lovely. So they've got... They've got a lovely yellow sun on theirs. That's because they've got tomatoes, and I don't have tomatoes. What I have is pepper. Like that. Take those out. And then... Uh-oh. I lost track of time! It's Scotty. If you want to see what they look like in the finished, want to see what they look like in the finished product, YouTube watching audience, you'll have to check it on my Instagram, joshy.long.legs. That's how you do social promo, right? Don't know. So, what am I doing? Yes, I'm chopping little triangles of yellow pepper to be the sun. Aren't I cute? Aren't I adorable? I have no idea. Oh no. No idea how visible this is going to be. Or indeed, if it's going to be any good. But we shall see. And some little bits of sunshine. Sunshine! I am what, Meg? Sorry, I didn't catch what it is that I am. And then how do we... Oh, cute. Thanks. So... Now I'm going to sprinkle the sunflower seeds around the sun, right? I'm just going to push those in. Okay. Nice and pushed in. What about like a little bird? Little bird made out of red? It's like a dead simple one. Some little birds flying in. Or some titties if I cut them wrong. Yeah. Little birds in the sky. Yes, very good. And then we can have like ants. Come here, pumpkin. Pumpkin seeds, what are you doing? These guys, little buddies, going across, having a lovely time. A few more pumpkin seeds, they can go. Maybe like some of them can be birds. Could they be birds? Oh, these are little flying insects, of course. How could I be so foolish? Okay, I think that's enough in there. That's going to be plenty, unless I think of something that I need it for. Sunflower seeds. They could be little flying bugs as well. And then finally, the chopped chives, dried and chopped chives, which I'm just matter about the place all over actually. Make it look really nice and floral. Quick phone call to take, it's fine. So I've added some of the chives to it, and I actually hate what it's done. So it's ruined it. Everything's ruined. Everything's terrible. But it's fine. They're probably going to burn, honestly. But I don't mind. I'm not mad about it. I'm just disappointed about it. And finally, I'm going to get some of that crap black. Because I like pepper. I'm just going to literally do that. That's plenty. So, there is the focaccia. That's now going to prove again with some cling film over the top of it. Or what they recommend. 35 to 40 minutes. I can get this thing film to actually sit on it. Because it's so oily, the cling film has difficulty sticking to it. Better to cut it after you've measured it all out. That's going to go away for 40 minutes. And hey, if you want to see the final product, you're going to have to go to my Instagram, joshy.long.legs. 40 minutes, I'm going to pop that in the oven for 20 or so minutes, basically until it's cooked at 200 degrees fan, gas mark 7, or 220 if you're not in the fan oven having thing. Huge thanks to my mother who bought this from Honeywell Biscuit Co. It's a really handy dandy kit, and they've got all kinds of stuff, biscuits, blondies, brownies, whatever. So if you're watching on YouTube, this is going to be the end of your viewing experience. Keep your eyes peeled for the finished product later. Thank you ever so much for watching. Please do be kind to yourselves, be kind in the comments, and I will see you next time.